think you're hot shit, don't you? But you ain't shit. Oh no, you ain't shit. You're just cold diarrhea in a Dixie cup. Thought I'd talk today about a bunch of stuff. One is a pretty controversial subject, which I'm sure there are a lot of feminists, if they watch this, will be pissed off about. I believe that feminism has actually made most women lazy, and what I mean by that is, lately it seems like because of the things that men have created, you know, such as like washing machines, dishwashers, things like that, the babysitters and all these kind of things. Women have gotten more and more to the point where they don't want to actually work. They don't want to actually do anything. And then if they do work, they've kind of become to the point where, you know, they'll go out and have a part-time job, and they come home and they want the husband to work even though he's done 9 or 10 hours at work and made 3 times as much money as her, but she feels like, well, I did 4 hours, so that you should make dinner and you should take care of the kids and you should give the kids a bath. And they've turned all these men into manginas because they're lazy, you know. A lot of them pretend they can't cook. You know, a lot of them will have like 5 or 6 different meals they make, or they'll just make some excuse and say they don't know how to cook, you know, and all they eat is like, you know, microwave meals and dinners and things like this, and they don't know how to actually be a woman. They don't know how to actually cook. And there's so many of these manginas that have started doing everything. They take care of the kids, they take care of the diapers, they take care of everything, and the wife does nothing. And this is a common thing now, where these women are becoming lazier and lazier and depending more on the men and using the men more and more, and then blaming you because you do all these things for them. You know, it's kind of like sad that the more you do, the less credit they give you for doing them. You know, and it's a typical thing. It doesn't matter how much you do for a woman, it'll never be enough. You know, they always want to blame you for what you're doing and saying that it's not good enough, it's not enough. You know, and they're just like these feminist ids. You know, where they have to make you feel as bad as they can. And if you call them out on their stuff, like say they wash the dishes and it's not quite clean enough, and they do this stuff on purpose, because if you complain to them, then they just say, well, I'm not doing it, and then you have to do it all from now because you called them out on the fact that they cooked some food that wasn't good, or they did something that was wrong. And if you tell them something about it, then they can get out of doing it altogether. And that's basically what they want. They want you to attack them so they can be lazy, you know. And this is what new feminism, I believe, is about. It's about being lazy and not doing anything and blaming men for everything and getting out of doing anything and saying that it's patriarchy, you know, and all this horse shit that they got. It's basically, they'll say that women get 77 cents on the dollar, and that has actually been proven to be wrong. But even if it wasn't proven to be wrong, there's never been a case yet that's been brought into any court. And in 1963, the U.S. signed the Equal Pay Act, which protects women from being paid less for doing the same job. And in 1972, it was signed in the UK. So if it was signed in, why hasn't anybody, and it's happening, why hasn't anybody brought a case? If you're working on a job and you're doing the same job as someone else, why isn't that being brought into the courts? You know, it's because it's not happening. Nobody's doing that, you know. So yeah, you know. And then we have some other studies that show that 73% of women don't even go back to work after they've had children. 43% of them don't. So they'll take time off. They get paid leave, which is something men don't get. Men can't get paid leave to go take care of their kids. To like when their wife has a kid, they can get off of work so they can go spend some time with their kids and you know, be involved with them. They don't get to do that, you know, but women get to do that. And once women do that, 43% of the women that take off don't go back to work, you know. In Japan, we have these new things coming up now. There are these girls called Bosozoku. Bosozoku are these girls that ride around on motorcycles. And they basically act like guys. They're kind of like tomboy, lesbian-ish kind of girls where they ride around, two girls on a bike, you know, and they ride around on scooters, and in some cases they steal bikes and they bend license plates up so the cops can't see it, and they'll hit cop cars with bats, and they'll just they talk and act really rudely, which is something that's very unusual for Japan, you know, obviously. And this is something that's happening more and more, and it's in response maybe to the herbivore men, you know. Maybe they're trying to, because herbivore men are more effeminate. They're more effeminate. They're trying to go and be more masculine and do masculine things to try to flip the script where they'll be the male participant in the relationship if you'll date them. Maybe you'll date them if they are the ones that know how to work on cars and they're the ones that know how to do men stuff. And most of these guys that are herbivore men know how to cook, they know how to clean, they know how to take care of children, they take care of themselves, they work on jobs that they're getting low pay for, you know. And in some cases these girls might have really rich parents, or they might have a job where they make decent money so they can afford to buy a pretty decent looking bike and do a lot of changes on it, and you know, maybe have a life and take care of a man, you know. And this is something that's been going on in the culture now for about 25 or 30 years, these bozoku girls. So yeah, you know, this kind of I don't know, like a simp culture, you know, that we got going on here is indicative of the kinds of things that need to go on all over the world, I think. Because I think what's going to happen is these women are blaming men for everything. So if we just go past that and say, okay, yeah, we've done it all. We're the problem for everything. So just don't talk to us. Don't have anything to do with us. It's kind of like that thing where if you're in a relationship with a girl and you get mad at her, and then you say something about why you're mad, and then she gets mad at you and tries to flip it around on you, and then she holds out sex and holds out on everything and tries to be mean enough to where after 2 or 3 days you're supposed to say sorry, and you give in, you know. And this is something that never worked on me, because I can go for 2 months without talking to a woman in my house. I don't give a shit, you know. So, you know, they can hold out sex all they want because it's not going to bother me a bit, you know. So these are things that women will eventually get to the point where the only thing they have to offer is that pussy. And once they realize that it's not that hot of a commodity, that because of everything that is stacked on top of that, you know, all the bullshit you have to go through to get that little bit of pussy that you're going to have to pay for if you end up getting it pregnant for the rest of your life, that they'll own. They'll take everything that's important to you and just trash it. It's not worth it, you know. Something that I found out a long time ago getting into relationships, and this is a warning that I'll tell any guys out there that might be watching this video. Never, ever, under any circumstances, tell a woman what you love, what you like to do, ever. whether you're dating her, and definitely not if you're married, because it will be their sole goal to turn what you love the most into something that you hate. If you really, really like to do something, pretend you don't like to do it at all. You know, like I like to play music. So if I'm in a relationship, I'm like, oh man, I gotta practice. I gotta freaking sit down and practice. And your wife will encourage you, you know, like say, you should go practice, because she thinks you don't want to practice. If you tell her, no, I love to practice, I like to play music all day long, I'd play 20 hours a day, they'll make every time you even look at the guitar, every time you even look at anything musical, to be like you never spend any time with me, you know, every time you pick it up, they'll do something like that. You'll pick up the instrument, you'll play for like 5 minutes, and they'll say, can you help me do dinner? You know, so they got this thing where they stick their talons in, they just try to pull away what you really love. You know, I gave the example before of a man in his car, you know, where he might have a car that him and his dad built, and they know how much that means to you. So their sole purpose is to get you to try to sell that, you know, get rid of it, so that you can give me the money and I can spend it on stuff I want, you know, stuff that means something to me but doesn't really mean anything to you, because I'm what's important. You know, this is their whole mental construct, you know, their whole concept of this kind of life, you know. So I'm going to be starting a new form of videos where I'm going to be once a week, because it's going to take me a lot of research. I'm going to go up against some feminists and talk about everything that they've said, and then give you the real facts about why it's bullshit. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because when you speak with these victims, which is what I like to call them, I don't call them feminists, I call them victims, because when you speak with these people on the internet, they always throw up the same stuff, and they don't have anything to back it up, and that's something feminists love to do. They like to take something, you know, like the Emma Watson thing, where the actual rapes in Britain is 12,000 a year on females, and 63% are only prosecuted, and most of them are false claims, you know. So she had said that there was 85,000, so it went from 12,000 to 85,000, you know, and like 40 to 45% of the rapes in Britain were men, you know, and they just like to pull over that. They're always talking about equality. And the thing about equality is, if you look at a thing where, say, two people are working for a company, and one guy, he works, say, like me, I had a body shop in America, that's how I went through college, I had a body shop. So say we got two guys working at the body shop. One guy is the head of the shop. Not the head of the shop, but just like the head of the body area, you know. Another guy's just a body guy, you know. They're both doing the same job, you know. It's just the head guy to tell him, like, okay, bring the other car in and work on that door, you know, or something. That's his job. But basically they do the same thing. The only thing the guy's that's getting more money has is he gets to tell the other guy what to do, which is typically what happens in a male-female relationship as well. So they're both doing the same job and the same work, but the manager guy, he might work 10 or 12 hours a day, where the other guy, he works basically 7.5 hours if you include lunch. He comes to work at 8, goes home at 5, has an hour or half hour lunch, so he works 7 to 7.5 hours, and then he goes home. Now the other guy, he works on Saturdays, you know, and the other guy only works till Friday. He works 5 days a week, doing 8 hours, you know, a day, and he only gets paid for 7.5, you know. And at the end of the year, you get a bonus, and it's a bonus on the total amount of hours you've worked and how much money. Now, if we were talking about equality, would you give both those people the same amount of money? No, of course not, because one person put in more hours. And over a year, if one guy's doing only 7.5 hours and the other guy's doing 10 to 12 hours a day and working Saturdays, he might have 700 or 800 hours, 1,000 hours more than that guy. So why would you give him the same amount of money? And this is where women are coming from. They're like, well, I worked 4 hours and I'm doing the same job that Bob is doing, so I should get the same amount of money for doing a 4-hour job. And in 3 months, when I have my baby, I'm going to take off for 6 months. And I want to get that same amount of money that Bob's getting for doing nothing and sitting at home and taking care of my kid. And then I might not even come back to work, so I just get paid for the next 6 months the same amount as Bob is. When Bob's working 10 hours a day, I used to only work 4 hours a day, and now I'm gone. You know, this is their concept. They don't think this stuff through. You know, they think that that's fair, that's equality. When in fact, equality is men get raped in prison. Men can't, in typical, less than maybe 10%, probably way less, maybe less than 5% of men get awarded the children in custody, you know. So in their custody battles, when they get divorced, you know, almost all men end up having to pay alimony or child support, and in many cases that ruins a man's life, you know. But all it does is help a woman, you know. And as long as a woman stays, like if a woman can find some guy to get her pregnant, even accidentally, that man's on the hook for the rest of his life to pay for that kid. And now she's got a free bank, you know. And as long as she doesn't get married, because once you get married, you can't get child support from the father anymore. So she can just live with the guy in the house that the guy might have bought for her. And as long as she does that, the husband still has to pay for the house. He has to pay her, he has to pay for the kids, and she's got a new boyfriend, you know. And this is something that they don't care. That's not equality. That's not equal, you know. And they think it's fair, and that's right. And it's not. You know, you're destroying men's lives, you know. Robin Williams is dead right now because of that. They destroyed his life. They took his money. They basically raped him. That would be a point where I would say you raped him. Because when you're taking a man, you're not raping his body. You're raping his mind. You're raping his soul. You're taking his life. You know, the thing that makes him him. You know, you're taking his ability to be a human on the planet and enjoy his life, and that's not right. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. You know, to basically take a person's ability to live just because you have a child with that person, you know. So, you know, this, like I say, I'm working on those videos right now. I'm working on going up against some people. I'm not going to go after the usual ones because there's so many people that have been talking about, like Anita Sarkeesian and bitches like that. I don't really care about talking about those because there's 50 million videos about why she's a dumbass. So I don't need to talk about people like that. I'm going to go after more people that should be gone after. So, yeah, if you like this video, share, like, and subscribe, and comment, and ask me any questions. You know, give me ideas for videos you might want to see me talk about, things like that, and have a nice night.